In fighting, sometimes the script writes itself. The combat sport gods gift you two fighters from neighbouring countries who are the best of their generation and are adored by their fans. Add to that the dream of revenge that one of those fighters holds higher than any belt, and you have the ingredients for a fight that will go down in history. Big news dropped this week. We've got all you need to know right here on OKTAGON Hype. So welcome to OKTAGON Hype once more. My name is Bryan Lacey. We are back, and he is back. The man in the corner, the one, the only, Josh Gudgeon. Yeah!
What's happening, man? How's it going?
It's good, mate. I've got this coffee you made me, which is really good, Josh. Oh my God, what's in it?
Mate, exciting fight news. That's what's in that cup.
Exciting fight news. Oh, so it is. Well, we're going to break some stuff down for you. What have we got for you today? We have got some news announcements. The Brits, they are coming. We're going to talk to the one, the only Jake Quickenden. That was announced. Stage to the Cage star taking on Paul Smith at the AO Arena in Manchester later this year. We're going to speak to the man himself. We're going to break down that card, the wonderful next card that we've got coming up in April in Liberec, and much more, including Josh. It's time, once again, for OKTAGON News. Let's go! Welcome to OKTAGON News. My name is Chub Crackenass, and these are the OKTAGON headlines. Karlos Vemola is set to fight everyone. That's right, a third fight this year has already been announced for the Terminator Karlos Vemola. First he will fight Attila Vegh in Liberec, then he will fight Patrick Kinsella in Prague, and before the end of the year, the fight we've all been waiting for, the rematch between him and Attila Vegh, will take place. In the run-up to a busy year, Karlos Vemola has taken on the strict diet of the Tibetan monks, which means he is not allowed to pass stools for the rest of the year. We asked Karlos 3 weeks into this regime how it's going. Karlos, from everyone here at OKTAGON News, we're all behind you. Well, not behind you, but we're with you. This week, OKTAGON highlighted all the fighters that have yet to taste defeat inside the OKTAGON cage. During this picture, we spotted how Lacey managed to earn that double champ opportunity. So you want to be the double champ? Hey, you want Pavel to wrap a couple of belts around your waist? Okay. Yeah, Lacey. Lacey, from everyone here at OKTAGON News, we're all Pavel is behind you. Oh, news just in. Karlos Vemola has had another fight announced. This time he'll be fighting the Amazon delivery driver. No one messes with Carlos's package. News broke late last night that Gustavo Lopez lost his sponsorship deal with Apple. This was after he lost his temper when he could not get airdrop to work. Apple cut his sponsorship deal when they witnessed this footage. News just in. Karlos Vemola has had another fight announced, this time with the Starbucks lady that got his name wrong on the cup. Stage to the Cage star comedian Paul Smith has released tickets to his highbrow, satirical and family-friendly comedy show. He put some images from the show on his Instagram last night. News just in, Karlos Vemola has signed another fight. This time he will be taking on the Tiger King, Joe Exotic. And finally, Stefan Putz is still totally mad. Next up, OKTAGON News has been accused of not being an equal opportunities employer. We beg to differ. We're going to the sport now with none other than Josh Gudgeon. Josh, you've got a big announcement.
Thanks, Bryan. I'm proud to announce that I've signed a 7-figure fight deal with OKTAGON MMA against none other than Karlos Vemola.
News just in. Karlos Vemola has signed yet another fight. This time he'll be taking on the one, the only Josh Gudgeon. That was OKTAGON News. So that's Octagon News, mate. And you're fighting Karlos Vemola.
Oh man, that's a scary. I hope he never watches Octagon News. That's a scary fight to make that.
I can't believe Karlos Vemola does watch Octagon News. I just something in me tells me a part of his week is not setting a little diary to a reminder to watch me in a stupid wig. But forget the fights we made up. The real fight that has been announced. All right, he's fighting at Bantamweight in Liberec. He's then got Kinsel to deal with in Prague at the O2. And then he's already booked that fight with Attila Vegh. Now, those two, I don't know if you know much about the backstory between them. So, obviously, side by side of the countries, Slovakia and the Czech Republic. Karlos Vemola, the biggest star by far in the Czech Republic. Attila Vegh, the biggest star by far in Slovakia. They fought at Octagon 15. This was the fight of the century. And actually, it was the first one I ever watched. First Octagon I tuned in for because I'd seen the shows. I'd seen it popping up on social media. And when I saw this fight was signed, I know both the guys and I had to watch it. And Attila won by first round knockout. Okay, and it was again in front of all the fans, a big moment, a big win, not just for Attila Vegh, but for Slovakia. 2019 that happened. Ever since that, Pavel and Andre have been trying to make this happen. Karlos Vemola has wanted it to happen. And finally, Josh, somehow, some way, despite the fact he's already got 2 fights signed, and despite the fact that Attila hasn't been that active in MMA, he's boxed a bit, they've signed it for the end of the year, which, you know, it's incredible that is on the horizon.
It's really exciting. I think, like you said, if it's that fight happened in 2019, and look at how active Karlos Vemola has been, and he'll have a bit between his teeth. You know, there's a reason he's got these fights scheduled this year. He wants to make a statement. He wants an active year. We spoke to him at the press conference, didn't we? But like behind the scenes, and he was saying how much training's gone in since he's obviously pulled out before Christmas due to ill health. Like the man's eager to get in there, and he proves it. And he's put his name and body on the line this year with 3 fights. That's huge, man.
I loved how they dropped the news as well. They just put up a post that said "deal done." Now, this was, the speculation was crazy. A lot of people thought it might be this. They guessed crazy stuff as well. But then they dropped that it was this, and the reaction and, the fans, especially the Czech Republic and Slovakia, they want this fight. And what you've talked about is, the growth in Vemola and the sport, but Octagon from 2019 to now, it's double the views, the size, the platform. So there's even more at risk, Josh.
Yeah, and Attila, we see him at every event because he's part of the he's part of the commentary team.
No, he's not even commentary. He just sits with Pavel because he just sits. He gets the best seat in the house.
He does round zero as well, doesn't he?
He does the round zero and things like that. But so he's watched, and him and Karlos, they go fishing together sometimes. They do all this. It's mad. It's absolutely mad that this thing is coming back around. But we will build you up for it. We'll fill you in. We'll even recap that last fight, Octagon 15, which happened back in 2019. But huge stuff. Big news as well over the last couple of weeks, in particular if you are from the UK, because we've had a number of fighters signed and now fights announced for them. So we've got obviously Shamrock. He is fighting in April 29th in Bratislava. Liam Etabar is also now announced to take on Václav Halota in a great fight. And I saw his manager Sid post something and says if he gets a win over Halota straight away, that puts him into the rankings. Stuart Austin has signed to fight as well, so he's now going to be active. And then of course Lee Chadwick, who was supposed to fight back in Prague, back in the O2, Octagon 38, he will now fight in the O2 arena, same card as Patrick Kinsel and Vemola, a middleweight fighting on the same card as the middleweight belt is being contested for, and that middleweight is Lee Chadwick taking on Bricek, who looked phenomenal in his last fight, absolutely devastating as far as a striker. But this is a statement. All those names, right? They're well known in the UK, and then when you think about the shows that they're going on, the ramifications are huge that they could, quite easily put themselves up there in the title contention.
It's really exciting. Like you say about Lee Chadwick, he's been around UK MMA for a long time. He's actually a good friend of Paul Smith, Stage to the Cage star.
That's right, isn't he?
Yeah, like it's crazy. It's a small little world, obviously, the MMA community in the UK. And as we said, he had to pull out again in Prague. That would have been his debut for Octagon. To see him come back now, be on the same card as Kinsel and Vemola. Oh, man.
A big fight as well. Liberec as well, the Polish guy who's moved up from welterweight to middleweight. It's fascinating, this one. But just for us, UK fans, to now start to feel some of the UK coming into it. I'm hoping we're going to get some Irish fighters signed. I might know a few things that are going on behind the scenes.
Tell us.
But as soon as I can, I will drop it here. So yeah, and you can keep up with all those shows as ever. We're now on DAZN, and we are also, of course, on octagon.tv/EN, so you can watch all the build-up, the shows, the events as well on either of those two platforms. Another exciting announcement was Jake Quickenden. Obviously, we talked a little bit about that before, Josh, but we got to speak to him today. Now, I want to remind people just how exciting this project is. So first of all, let's roll the promo for Stage to the Cage.
OKTAGON MMA are the fastest growing mixed martial arts promotion on the planet. And in 2023, we are heading to the UK with a project like no other. Two of the UK's biggest stars are about to take on the ultimate challenge. Jake Quickenden, actor, singer, and one of the biggest reality TV stars the UK has ever produced. He took on the X Factor judges. He conquered his fears in the jungle. And he was crowned King of the Ice. Paul Smith, one of the UK's most successful comedians. With sellout tours and a die-hard following, he has captured the hearts and minds of the British and Irish public. In 2023, both these men will lay it all on the line as OKTAGON MMA bring you a celebrity fight like no other. Both will sacrifice all as they train for 10 months, looking to master the hardest sport in the world, mixed martial arts. Then, at the end of this year, they will make their professional mixed martial arts debuts. They will walk out in front of a sold-out Manchester arena, and you can follow their journey. The highs and the lows, the pain and the glory. Two men will enter, but only one can be crowned the winner of Stage to the Cage.
So there we go, Josh. It's happening. Those two guys are going to go at it in the AO Arena in Manchester on an OKTAGON card, the first ever OKTAGON card in the UK. Now, me and you have both been part of the filming and the footage for Stage to the Cage. It hasn't been released yet, but we've been working on the episodes. The footage is so good, right? And what they're putting in, the effort they're putting in and who they're training with, for us to know what's going on is super exciting to get ready to share it with the rest of the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, what an exciting bout. You've got two, like you say, superstars in the UK. You know, one comedian that's on the rise, arguably more popular than Jake Quickenden by today's standards, because it's just on everybody's feeds on TikTok, Instagram. Yeah. Jake Quickenden, he's been around forever. He's been on every reality show that there is in the UK. He's been in the jungle. He's been on
skating. He's been on SAS. Everything. Yeah. Bargain Hunt, mate. He's been on Bargain Hunt. That's my mum's favourite.
But the funny thing is, like, we say styles make fights, right? And these two are completely different styles of people and fighters, and different age categories as well. You know, Paul's just hit 41 years old. Jake's 35, I believe. Is 35, that right?
Yes, yeah.
Super athletic dancer. Then you've got a comedian drinking, you know, phenom that he is, like Funny Man, who's taking it so seriously. Yeah. Like, these guys are training like it's fight week already.
Listen, we're not allowed to show you the full episode, but what I am going to show you is a teaser of the footage that is to come, that is Stage to the Cage. So look, roll it.
I'm excited to see if I actually have the bollocks to do it.
I'd rather die than lose. Is that a weird thing to say? Like, I would rather die than lose.
Because if I'm honest, I'm terrified.
I used to watch his stuff and think he's fucking funny. Now I've got to punch him.
He'll learn more things about himself than he has in the last 35 years, do you know what I mean? Most men want to fight, but do they really want to fight?
So it's good, innit? It's good. It's good. What? You want more? Should I show him some more, Josh?
I think you're going to have to.
Listen, so I'm going to give you the teaser for episode 2. Don't tell anyone. Roll it.
We're doing it. You can't have anything but respect for the fact we're fucking here.
Straight away, fucking one right in the tether. Oh man, another kid as well.
Like, as someone who's suffered with depression and anxiety and things in the past, I think this is the best thing you can do for yourself.
I've been through, like, the loss of my dad and my brother, and for me, like, nothing can be worse than that. I don't know who he's facing, but that guy's in trouble.
I can feel a black eye coming up.
So look at that footage. Look at it. Those are the teasers, and the full episodes are so exciting. You will be able to watch them, of course, on DAZN and, of course, on octagon.tv/EN. But look, I got to speak to Jake Quickenden. We haven't spoken to him since the announcement. Now, first up, I asked him what it was like, what the response was like when Octagon dropped the news that it would be him stepping inside the cage against Paul Smith at the AO Arena in Manchester.
If I'm totally honest, Bryan, I haven't read anything. Because I don't like to. I like to just go tunnel vision. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to get people going, oh, you're taking the piss out of sport. But that's not mine, or I don't think that's Paul's kind of attitude towards it. Like, we love this sport. Like, I've grown up watching the UFC. I've grown up watching Bellator. I've grown up watching, and now I'm going to be fighting on Octagon, which is the new big one. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to think. So for me, it's not about disrespecting the sport. It's about showing that there's two fairly novices that can do it. Do you know what I mean? And show people how much of a science it is, and it's poetry, it's dance. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all these things. So that's what I want to do. So I kind of didn't read much. I kind of not bothered about what people think, because you're going to get people going, oh, this will be shit, or this will be a joke, or blah 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 blah. You're always going to get that. But yeah, I just kind of went tunnel vision, and I know Paul's going to be training hard, but I don't think anyone will train hard as I do. I get a bit obsessed. I've already done 2 sessions today. I've got two more tonight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just get obsessed with things, and I just want to give a good account of myself. That's win or lose. I want to give a good account of myself and kind of show respect to the sport.
Love that response. I mean, again, with him being in the limelight so much, he's learned not to read the comments, right? He knows what people's perceptions are going to be. But then when you hear about him talking about the sport as, you know, poetry, as dance, and wanting to respect it, it's magic, mate. And I think people are going to see a different side of him when they see this footage and see exactly what he's putting in.
Absolutely. Like, he's taking it so seriously, and he says all the right things. Like, us as fans, we know what it means to have a celebrity fight. As fans of the sport, like, we understand what it can do for the sport, bring eyes, new people, but the purists don't often like it, which is obviously, those are going to be the haters that are going to be in the comments, you know, giving him you know, grief.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, it's fantastic for the sport, and it's fantastic for us, the fans, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. And the other side of that as well, so you talk about the fans, and you talk about these keyboard warriors, you got to think about it from the side of the fighters as well, right? So the fighters that he walks into these professional gyms with pro and amateur fighters, you know, trying to make their mark, carve their legacy, when this X Factor guy walks in. And what's been great is to see the respect he's earned from those as well.
Yeah, I guess, like, people, because of social media, people always have a misconception and a prejudgment of other people. And you look at me and you see a bit of a prima donna. I've got my fake teeth, and I like to look nice and moisturize and wash my hair, do you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So people automatically think, oh, he's been on X Factor, he's a bit of a reality TV. But that don't mean that I can't get stuck in. Do you know what I mean? I was a bricklayer. I've had every job under the sun. Like, I can work hard. Like, that's been ingrained in me when I was younger. My dad and my mum used to ingrain, like, you got to work hard if you want something. So for me, just showing that to people. But it's not a bad thing. If people think I'm going to be a pussy because I look a certain way, then let them think that. And then when I take heads off with roundhouse kicks, then that's even better for me. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, he can. So yeah. I think I've surprised a few people when I've trained, and I leave it all out there. Like, I train until I can't walk out the gym. Do you know what I mean? And that's training with James. That's training with Webby, because he does the same, and everyone in that gym does the same. Do you know what I mean?
People forget that, right? People forget that he had a life before he was like a celebrity. He was a bricklayer. He's used to doing hard work. He talks so often about his mum and his dad, and about that ethos that he's got, that ethic, that work ethic that was instilled in him. And again, it's just another side that is going to surprise people, I think, when they watch these episodes from Stage to the Cage.
Yeah, I mean, we often have these preconceptions of people. We see this, like, handsome dude in shape. He's as a model, isn't it, really? Like, and then if I were a fighter, a seasoned vet, and I see this guy walk in, I'm like, I need to do a number on this guy and kick him straight back out the door. Jake's no pushover, man. Like, I've been filming with him for the last 3 months. he is a handy dude, and like he's proven a lot of people wrong so far. So I'm so excited, man.
I also talked to him about training MMA. We know he's got a striking background, so he's boxed a little bit before. You can see from the videos online, he's very good on the feet. But this answer surprised me a lot, especially when you talk about grappling, learning how to wrestle, learning the jiu-jitsu. I thought he'd be sticking more to the striking, but this is what he said to me.
This striking is nice, but I'm coming to wrestle. I'm coming to take people down now. I've found something that I love and something that I'm good at. And my base and my footballing background, my big legs give me a great base to wrestle. So, striking's kind of gone on the back burner a little bit. We're wrestling all the time.
So apparently Josh is a wrestler now. He's a wrestler. But, when you look at this sport, and especially when you look at Jake and Paul going on this journey, they both seem to be enjoying, the process, being beginners again.
It's funny because we've seen them both. I've seen them both take it up so intensely, and what's most surprising is how seriously they are taking it, and that shouldn't be understated. Because I say that because they've got their careers outside of this sport, but I think they're both very aware of how severe the consequences are of this sport. So they are doing 2 sessions a day, and they're learning all the disciplines, and they're taking it like life or death seriously. I'd have been upset or scared for one of them or the other if I'd have seen one training like Jake's doing, and let's say Paul's just I'll start ramping it up in like 6 months time. These boys are going out of the like gates hot, so I just hope that they can keep it up and get to the fight, because if they are, it's going to be the most impressive display of mixed martial arts from two brand new
novices,
pros. Yeah, two novices.
And that's what the thing's for, right? This is the whole project, to introduce people to the sport and show them how hard it is, but take two people that are technically beginners and build them up to get on that stage and into the cage. So you just mentioned him there, Josh. His opponent, we know who that's going to be. So I asked Jake what he thought about facing the comedian Paul Smith.
Just probably the same as him. Like, it don't really matter who it is, because I'm not doing it because we hate each other. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing it because it's a challenge for me. So you could have said any name in there. You could have said Drake, and I'd have been the same. Do you know what I mean? I'd have been like, okay, well, I'm going to train hard, and then we're going to have an MMA fight. I like Paul, though. That's the thing. I do like him. I think he's a funny guy. I watch him on TikTok and that all the time. He's pretty big. But yeah, like, there's no bad blood between us because, one, we don't know each other. Two, we'd probably get on, if I'm honest.
You really would.
Yeah, and three, like, we're in the same boat. We're novices to the sport, and we're gonna go and we're gonna put the small gloves on, and we're gonna try and punch each other in the face and try and wrestle each other to the ground, and then one of us will win, unless we get a draw, which would be a bit of an anticlimax. But we'll fight again then if we get. But yeah, like that's it. It didn't really matter what name you said I was going to fight, because I'm not doing it because I want to fight that person. I'm doing it because I want to fight myself in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to prove I can train, prove I can learn, and prove I can put it all together on the night.
I love that answer as well. Again, it doesn't matter who the opponent is. For both of them, they've said it's the journey. It's all about that journey. Another thing that both have talked about with regards to what this is giving them is the sides, like the positive effect it's having on their mental health. I asked Jake to talk a little bit more about that as well.
I always work better when I've got a goal in mind and a routine. So just by getting up and training, and kind of when you're training, your mind switches off. You're not thinking about anything else apart from the training and learning. And then when you're sparring, you're thinking, don't get punched in the face. So it doesn't give you a chance to kind of think woe is me and think about all the things that are negative, which every day is always a struggle. I don't know if Paul's the same, but I wake up some days and I don't want to do anything, and I've spoke openly about having anxiety and stuff like that, and I think it's important to talk about that stuff, like as guys especially, but I think the gym and having a goal and having an end product always helps me. A routine always helps me. So it's doing wonders for me.
So Josh, like, when you hear those guys, the guys with that sort of platform talking that openly about, mental health, suffering with anxiety, depression, we kind of know about this by training the sport. You feel better. Small problems disappear when you are, training regularly. But to hear those two talking about how big of an impact having this goal and going on the journey has been, that's magic.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we both know from grappling, like once you're on the mats, like you cannot think of anything else. So I can see how those guys are addicted to it for their mental health, and it's so good that people of like that stature are speaking openly about it, because we all have our troubles, and it's amazing that they really are opening up about it.
What a pair that we have got to fight in Octagon. And Jake has not actually been to a show yet. He's not witnessed or felt what an Octagon show feels like. However, he has watched, and he said some pretty nice things about this being the stage for him to have his pro debut.
I'm really excited. Like Octagon, everything that I've seen is so positive. It looks really like a well-oiled establishment. Do you know what I mean? Like they know what they're doing. It's legit. I've seen some of the shows on YouTube that they've put on, and they look wild. So it's nice to be fighting under something that you can trust. Do you know what I mean? So that's nice. And I think Octagon's going to be huge in the UK. So to say I fought on it, it's going to be pretty cool. Like I say, it goes down on one of the bucket lists, and you can go, wow, I can't believe I did that. Really
nice stuff there, right? Really nice stuff there from Jake Quickenden. He will take part in Stage to the Cage. He will fight Paul Smith at the end of the year in the AO Arena in Manchester. For the full interview, you can jump to the Octagon UK and Ireland YouTube channel. Check that out in full. But Josh, just to touch on those final things, him talking about his son and being able to show him what he's done and the stage he's done it on. It's every time you hear these guys talk, we've got the right people on this journey, right?
Absolutely. And we know his accolades previously, and this has got to be at the top of the list. When he makes that walk in front of a full arena to make his pro mixed martial arts debut, like that is like legendary. You talk about bucket lists, that is the top of the book. Imagine, mate.
Unbelievable. So look, that's plenty to look forward to for the Brits, for the UK, the Irish fans as we move through 2023. The next tournament we have got is an absolute banger. Liberec. We will be there April 15th. This card, Josh, let's just go through some of it. In fact, let's talk about the fight at the top of the card, Magard versus Lopez. The fight outside the fight has been pretty interesting on social media. Let's play a couple of the clips that they've had between each other on social media over the last week and a half.
Gustavo, time is ticking, and I'm coming for you. Tick, tock, tick, tock.
I'm the bad guy.
Hello, darling.
It's getting spicy, right? I love both those posts. You got Magard with this like horror movie kind of scary thing staring down the camera, and then you've got Lopez just beating the hell out of something. And they're great videos. It's the sort of build that we need, right?
Yeah, I love it. Finally, Lopez has sort of come back with, like, when I saw that video, I was like, oh my God. Because it's that point of view, isn't it? It's that first, like, imagine if that's in Magard's head. That's what I'm going to be looking up at.
Oh my God.
It could happen. It could happen.
It really could. And like Magard is super confident. Super confident. I know that he's also been dropping in his DMs as well. He's been playing that sort of mind games. You shouldn't underestimate Lopez though, right?
And mate, look who he's been training with. Aljamain Sterling has been training with
Divashvili. That's right. He was with him as well, right?
Yeah, Kelvin Gastelum he's been training with. And I watched on Magard's stories, he's watching tape of Lopez in the UFC. Like, we cannot look past that. We saw him fight against Maciek, and it was a dominant top pressure performance.
And finish. One takedown and straight into the guillotine.
It's going to be an amazing fight. I'm so excited for it.
The other fight we've got to talk about, we've had a little joke this Octagon Hype about Karlos Vemola announcing so many fights, but it's so good to see him active again. And you can see just what he wants from this year as well. He's set these goals out, these huge tasks, and he's kicking it off by taking on Al Matavao. This is at a catch weight, so it's on his way down to middleweight for the Kinsale fight. But another fighter, you cannot underestimate Al Matavao. He's got the type of power that could knock an elephant out.
Yeah, we've seen it firsthand, man. Like, that is some unbelievable power, and we know that Karlos Vemola is a crafty veteran. You know, he's going to be trying to stay out of the way of that thing, probably wrestle and just try and get him down, get that power away from him. But it only takes one shot. It's and it's going to be my first taste of Vemola as well. Mate. I've like get that t-shirt.
You've
mate.
never seen a Vemola fight?
No, I haven't seen one.
Oh my god, I feel like you've been here forever, John.
Sorry,
in a
mate,
nice way, but this again, these first, because it's not just the fight, it's the walk up, it's the build up, walk out and the build up. But my goodness, this is a tough test for his first. I believe it's his first fight back for nearly 300 days. Wow. So he's almost had a year out because of the illness, because of not being, well, basically since Stranica, when he won that title against Ilic. So the return is on. Almatova will be looking to spoil that party. That goes down in Liberec. Let's have a look at some of the other fights. And the rest of this card is filled with some amazing fights as well. There's one, in fact, that I want to point out. Didi Skvor is going to take on the Englishman, Danny Vinny. Now, Danny Vinny has got a huge record in mixed martial arts. I think almost 45 professional MMA fights. Skvor will be on his 8th pro fight. However, Vinny put this video up. Let's have a look at the challenge Danny Vinny put towards Didi Skvor.
Daniel Shark. As most people know, I was focusing on bare knuckle, but Octagon came and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I respect your level of K1. You should respect my jiu-jitsu. The offer I'm having to you is a gentleman's agreement of just boxing, just hands. It's what the crowd wants to see, and I don't want to spend time doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling. What'd you say? Me and you, just hands, just punching. We're just gonna box. You and me, first gotta shoot, first gotta kick as a bitch. Yeah, let's go.
So what do you think of that, mate?
I mean, like if I were a mixed martial artist and against that guy, I'd be using my wrestling and jiu-jitsu. I'd be saying you can bollocks.
But it's interesting because Skvor's got that striking background. Again, Danny Vinny coming in here off the back of all of his bare knuckle fights. It's great. Another UK fighter on the card. There's some other great fights on there. Let's talk about Jorik Montagnac. He is going to take on Jan Gottwald. Gottwald training with Jiří Prohaska. Montagnac coming off the back of that huge knockout against Didi Skvor. Again, when you're looking at weight classes starting to build stars and potential challengers for titles, these two have got to be up there as well.
Yeah, I mean, Montagnac, he is a scary dude. And look, we saw what he did to Didi Skvor. Like that. It's going to be electric. I think I'm calling it already, Brian. It's going to be a special night. It's going to be a special night in that arena.
I wish we had a vlog for it. I wish somehow, some way we could record it and give you the emotions of that evening. Stay tuned for sure. A couple of other fighters or fights to highlight on that card. The heavyweight clash. Adam Pawash, who is taking on Lazar Todev. This, again, could have the ramifications for who fights Hatif Moel for that vacant heavyweight strap. And of course, we've got to give a mention to OKTAGON Hype favourite, the King of the North, Liberec's own Jan Malak. He will be on that card as well. As always, you can tune in and watch the events live, either on our new home of DAZN, or you can check it out on octagon.tv/EN. Do not miss it. April 15th, OKTAGON will be rolling into the city of Liberec. The Bantamweight title will finally be unified. Will it be Jonas Magard or Gustavo Lopez who walk away with that Bantamweight crown? You can find out. Tune in live April 15th. Also, check out our social media for all the latest news, all the latest updates. And once again, thank you for watching the one, the only OKTAGON Hype. See you next time.